Friendly and firm. Yeah, I think you two are going to make a good combo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in your first caller. Actually, you know what, Kenneth? I'll let you pick.
All right.
The other caller's not screened yet.
I'm going in the order of that they're coming in. So we'll kick things off today with Mike, who I understand wants to talk about Bigfoot. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Doing well.
Hey, Mike.
Right on. Hey. Yeah. How are you?
So
it was good to talk to you earlier.
Yeah, we just like to dive into what people believe and why. So I guess tell us what's on the menu here tonight.
Well, I don't know. When I talked to you earlier, you asked me if I thought Sasquatch or Bigfoot or whatever was a real thing or whatnot. And,
okay.
I mean, I've never really had an experience myself. I'm but I think there's a lot of claims out there that are. I mean, there's so many of them now and there's now a lot more video coming out that is being analyzed, and a lot of claims and hundreds and hundreds of sightings. So it kind of makes me wonder that maybe they are out there. I personally believe they do. That they are.
So it's always interesting with the call-in show because I can't like consult videos and stuff here to know like really what you're seeing. So I'm not aware of any like developments with respect to like Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings. So I'm at a bit of a disadvantage, I suppose. I do though. I pay very close attention to like local and national news, and I don't recall seeing anything about some sort of verification that Bigfoot was. I feel like it would have been big news. So I'm wondering where the disconnect is between our two positions.
Well, there has been some international and national news. As a matter of fact, in Russia, there was something released just recently that did kind of an analysis of the same thing that the Patterson-Gimlin film was analyzed in the way it basically, I guess, kind of ran after a car and was analyzed. And well, they're still analyzing it, I guess. But I am not a firm believer in this or not, but I do find it pretty compelling and interesting to look into, to where I've taken the time to do my own research. But there are some news stories out there, but there's nothing that verifies anything. No, I mean, there's enough out there for me that I've seen to kind of lead me to believe that there is something out there that, there's unexplored species of animals undiscovered species of animals are being discovered all the time. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I find it very intriguing, though, personally.
Ameet looks like he's ready. Go ahead.
Mike, I heard you say that there's video coming out in Russia about Bigfoot and it ran after a car. Are you maybe saying that there's the same species of animal in Russia as well as here in the United States? Or are they like different species?
Well, I think there are hominids out there. I mean, human is hominin, but there are hominids out there that are ape-like, and who knows if whatever they want to call Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti or whatever is either or. I mean, scientists have said that Bigfoot may be a subspecies of human or hominin, excuse me. It's hard to tell, really. There's just really not enough evidence, but to me, it's worth exploring. Really,
So I guess the difference, the thing that I'm seeing here is I think there's not enough evidence. And you clearly think that there's not enough evidence to conclude either. So what's stopping us from just staying at, I don't know, instead of moving towards the end of, what's making you say maybe there is a Bigfoot, whereas I'm saying, hey, I need more evidence before I can conclude?
Well, I personally think that the amount of claims over even hundreds of years and as of late, and I mean, I do my own research on my own time, and I think there's a lot. I think, when they say that it's somebody out there in a monkey suit or whatever you want to call it, I mean, the amount of claims that are coming out and sightings and so on. I mean, how many people are really out there willing to take the time to throw a gorilla suit on way up in the Northwest on their own time with these extravagant costumes and everything? I mean, it just doesn't really add up to me. It's like there's a lot of there are definitely people that are out there that are I mean the original Bigfoot tracks, they came out in 1957 or 58 were faked. That was admitted by the gentleman who did it and his family. And I'm sorry, I don't remember his name right now. And sure, there's a lot of faked scenarios out there, but as far as some videos out there that people post privately, and there has been videos in the international and national news in the United States and Canada and whatever, that I find very really kind of worth looking more into. I don't think we can just pass it off as a hoax or a myth. It's just too much going on in a lot of ways. I mean, there was like a couple times. I camp out in the Rocky Mountain National Forest here in Colorado, Roosevelt National Forest and whatnot. And there have been couple times where I've heard those like distant tree knocks, but I never thought about anything like that until recently, when in the last few months, when I started really getting interested in it. I mean, I was a kid when the Patterson-Gimlin film came out. I was always intrigued by that, and I never knew what to think about it. But
so
I personally just feel there's a little bit more worth looking into. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it occurs to me that a lot of people who are watching or who may watch this in the future might not know what the Patterson-Gimlin film is, but most of them I would bet have probably seen it or seen it clipped, because it pops up all over the place. It's in pop culture. So there's a film where there's sort of a tree line, and there is a clearly bipedal, large ape-looking creature that comes sort of walking across the frame. And that's it. So if you were to Google the Patterson-Gimlin film, that's what you would see.
That's probably what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I'm trying to pin down where we can find points of agreement and disagreement here, because if what you're saying is nobody has disproven the existence of Bigfoot, therefore it's reasonable to believe in Bigfoot, that would be an interesting conversation to have. If what you're saying is there's lots of empty, and unexplored forest space where some creature that we don't understand, that people have referred to over the years as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, something lives out in the woods and we don't know about it, I don't know. But the sort of crucial question that I always return to on these types of shows with people is just, when is it time to believe something? So my grandmother lived on a farm in Northern California, way up north, near a town called Mad River, near Lassen Volcanic Peak, way up in the middle of nowhere. And when my family would drive up there from the San Francisco Bay Area, you know, you'd go up into the woods, and there would be all these roadside shops and attractions built around Bigfoot as you get up into like Humboldt County and stuff. And people would make and sell the Bigfoot, like the casts of the footprints, you know, and would tell people stories, you know, to sort of, you know, feed into this sort of like urban legend type of thing. And it was all sort of, you know, in the name of entertainment and making a buck up in the woods. But I guess my question to you would be, when would it be time to take an affirmative stance and say you believe that there is something that could, you know, that like that Bigfoot is real, essentially?
Well, I don't advocate the killing of anything, but I personally believe that when there is physical proof, such as a body or a part of a body, that it would be definitive. Unfortunately, until then, I don't think we'd ever know, or you know, if there's some sort of other visual proof, maybe even with camera footage or something. But there's a lot of recordings out there of audio that are very unexplainable. I mean, I grew up out here in Colorado. I lived in a little town in Larkspur for years, and you know, I had a very bad bear problem.
I hate to interrupt, but there was a word you just used that just like sets off a giant red flag in my brain, and that word is unexplainable, because there's a massive distinction between something being unexplainable and something being unexplained, and the gap between those two things is where our imaginations tend to run wild, you know.
So, well, I mean, you can listen to the same audio recordings that I've listened to, and you can discern whatever, you know, you discern from those. I know what a bear sounds like. I've grown up listening to coyotes and mountain lions and everything, and I know what all those are. And some of these recordings out there that some YouTubers and that have been published by the national and international news, there are recordings out there of vocalizations that are not identifiable.
Well, so let's just go with that, right, Mike? Let's assume that you are able to identify a wolf 100% of the time, or a bear 100% of the time, or let's say any animal in that relative area 100% of the time. What if it's not from that particular area? What if it's something else? What if it's someone, you know, it could be someone playing a prank. It could be someone playing a recording. It could be a truck that's the audio's been distorted, right? There could be so many other explanations, but that doesn't mean that it's unexplainable, right?
Well, but the technology with, I'm also a sound designer, and it doesn't mean I'm an expert by any means, but there are sounds out there that science has not been able to identify as far as any animal or otherwise sound. They're just unidentifiable, what they classify as vocalizations for the most part. Screams, yells, whoops, that kind of thing. And that's what makes me wonder. That's one of the things that really piques my curiosity and interest in the whole matter.
Yeah, but again, you're saying you keep referring to these things as unidentifiable, which indicates that we can't identify them. Where it seems to me, I mean, if you look at the history of humanity, and our attempts to understand the world around us, you'll find countless examples of people saying, here's this thing that is unidentifiable. And then over time, as we get a better understanding of our world, science has eroded a lot of the unidentifiable by identifying things. And every single time that we've been able to identify things, There's this just natural explanation for what we find, right? So I'm very wary whenever someone uses a word like unidentifiable versus just saying we don't know what it is yet. And we may never know what something is. There might be something that always goes unidentified. But I don't know how we could, label something as unidentifiable.
Well, okay, maybe unidentifiable isn't the best word, but there are audio recordings of sounds from the remote wilderness in many parts of the world that science has not been able to label. And my only point is, I think it's worth looking into. I'm not saying that this thing is real, because I'm not really an extreme believer in that either, but I'm kind of leaning towards the middle of the road, where I think it's, well, a little further right of the middle of the road, to look into it more and maybe explore it a little more.
Yeah. I think
there is something out there that, and maybe
I would totally agree
out there that we
should never stop exploring.
And I guess, right. Yeah. And I guess that's my only real point. I'm not here to, I don't have the expertise, for one.
Listen, you know what? Just those words are refreshing when someone in today's culture says that they don't have expertise, because I was listening all day yesterday. I was, I work with a bunch of very, very smart people. None of them know jack shit about Eastern European politics and geopolitical conflicts. None of them know anything about military strategy, but all of a sudden they're all experts about Ukraine. And it's like, what are you talking about? Just do your job and like stay in your lane, So, hey, listen, Mike, we do need to move on to other callers, but I really appreciate you calling in. If you'd be up for it, it would be awesome if you would be willing to maybe find some of these sounds you're talking about and put them up on the YFNA Facebook page so people could talk about them and listen to them.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Sure. I'd be happy to.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey,
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your night, and pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Mike.
You too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. Hell yeah. Never stop exploring.